Welcome back, everybody. We're going to hit the ice, and Tradon's going to lead us to another NHL segment with all the latest in the NHL. Tradon, what you got for us this week?
All right, another week gone, and I'm currently 3 minutes left in my Edmonton-Montreal game, and it has been one of the best hockey games I've seen in a while. What a game. If you're not watching it, I guess it's a little late to turn it on now, but it is a hell of a game. Go back and watch it if you have a chance. I'm going to start with the playoffs for our fantasy league. Obviously, the 4 TLDR boys, not including myself, are in it. We'll start with so Eric is leading Tyler after 1 week by a mere 33 points. Like it is amazingly close, amazingly tight. I mean, 33 points that's nothing. That's one decent period by a goalie. As we know, the goalies make your team in this league. And then Alex is losing to James by a mere, if I can do math, 24 points. I mean, that, again, it's so damn close. And I know that James forgot to set a lineup, so it could be a little bit bigger of a margin. But it only makes it better when it's this tight. For us on the outside looking in, we love to see the big battles, and that's what we're seeing here. So
we got to start doing like Instagram updates.
I
just every day, just get an update on where the TLDR boys are doing in hockey. I think the world needs to know about this matchup. They're fantastic.
It actually might be good to just put do a snapshot and then put it on the story. Like that's all you really need. Yeah. Just to that's like takes 5 seconds. I could even do that. I will probably do that.
Do it.
Okay, we're gonna get into the nitty gritty here. We're gonna start with the greatest, pretty much the greatest story of the week. Patrick Marlowe this past weekend tied Gordie Howe for the most regular season games played at 1,767 games. And after tonight's game against the Vegas Golden Knights, he is at the top of the list at 1,768 regular season games. This is an amazing achievement. And, first of all, I asked Tyler just kind of give his, Tyler, give us your opinion on this achievement, and before I kind of chime in and give my 2 cents.
Yeah, I think games played in any professional sport, whether it be consecutive streaks, whether it be overall like this one, that's probably one of the most impressive records or stats you can have. Just the longevity it takes to play at that elite level for so long. Really, it's really hard to explain how impressive that is. So congratulations to Marlowe. That's a hell of an achievement. He's probably playing right now as we speak in the game tonight. But yeah, especially in a sport like hockey. I mean, the amount of athleticism overall it takes to be a hockey player is incredible. You have to have a lot of different elite skills as an athlete to be able to play that sport just for a game, let alone 1,000 plus, whatever the number is, 1,900 games or whatever it is. It's very impressive. At least 24 NHL seasons. I mean, unbelievable. I think for me, the best part of it, as much as I'm the Kings fan, so I don't like the Sharks. The fact that he was able to come back to the Sharks this season after a couple years away to have this record be broken with the Sharks, I think is super special. So I'm sure Sharks fans love that. I'm sure, Patrick Marlowe, I think that's super special to him. He played, 96% of those games in a Sharks uniform. So for him to break the record in back in San Jose, I think is super special. So congrats to Patrick Marlowe. One hell of an achievement.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This guy was drafted 2nd overall in 1997 by the San Jose Sharks. He's been with them through most of his career. As you mentioned, he did have a little stint in Toronto, mentoring those young kids in Toronto who are now, the superstars in, Matthews and Marner. Look, guys, this guy has played the most regular season games in NHL history. He has 566 goals, 630 assists. And the greatest part of that is, he was entered the league as the youngest, eligible, draftee. And he started the NHL when I started skating. So he's been playing in the NHL for as long as I've known how to even skate. And he's played, and another crazy stat, he's played with 34% of every of all of the NHL players that have ever played the game. He's played with a third of every single NHL player that's ever played in the NHL, which is insane to even think about. The greatest part of that is this guy is 41 years old. He is still in a top 6 role with the San Jose Sharks, and it takes a lot to be able to, show your coach that you're worthy of getting in the lineup night in and night out. And he's done it more than anybody else has in the league. And he's done it, through, I would say, 2 or 3 different, eras of the of the game changing. The game's gotten faster. He's had to adapt to that, and he has, and he's still a very, effective player out there. And, at the end of the day, if you're a player that's not going to contribute and make a difference, then you're going to be sat regardless of how many games you've played. And clearly, if as he continues to hop the boards and get on the roster, night in, night out, he's clearly showing that he can still make a difference. And I think that in and of itself is amazing. This is a stat that, will go down the history books. I do want to ask you, Tyler, really quick. First, I want to ask you how many games do you think he plays? And second, is he worthy of a Hall of Fame bid?
Wow. First,
I know that was kind of a shot. I didn't ask you that earlier.
You didn't ask that. But first, real quick, with the 34% stat you mentioned earlier with all the players in the NHL, I wonder how they came up with this. Like, did someone actually go through every single game, get the rosters?
I have no
clue. Divide the numbers, or is computer science that advanced where you can just ask the computer and gives you that? That's what I think about. How long did it take them to actually get that number?
Yeah, into Google.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. So anyway, but yeah, so games played. What he's probably 90-ish games from 2000.
No, he's actually over 100.
Wait,
over 200 actually. He's at 1767. If you're including regular season only, he is very close to meeting Messier's overall games at 2000. Right.
Yeah, I saw that. So I think it'd be cool for him to beat that record, so then he can be the ultimate hockey guy. And so I think he'll probably play one more season, and kind of beat that mark. It would be super cool to get to 2000. I don't know. He's I'll be really pushing it. But hey, you never know. I mean, he's made it this far. Might as well keep going. It's like Forrest Gump, right?
Yeah.
So, and then Hall of Fame. I think you got to have a Hall of Fame bid for him. I mean, he's his stat wise, there's nothing that really jumps out at you. But just to be able to play at that elite level for that long, I mean, I feel like you got to have at least a consideration.
Yeah. So to give you guys the actual math, he's 38 games away from 2000. So he's going to get it next year for sure. No problem. If he plays another season, that is. I assume he would, but he's only on a 1-year contract. So hopefully San Jose would sign him for the league minimum and call it a day, just to give him those games. Look,
I heard this story about Patrick Marlowe, and I got to tell it before we move on. Okay. I was listening to this other podcast today, and Patrick Marlowe, I guess, has this reputation around the league as the guy that gets naked the quickest in the locker room. So in between, I know you guys know this, but for, maybe not avid hockey fans, the players have about 18 minutes in between periods. Once they get off the ice, if they have to do stupid, interviews with reporters or whatever. And so Patrick Marlowe is always the quickest to get naked. And then I guess every single time he'll either take an ice bath or a super cold shower, because it helps him with his lactic acid buildup and whatever. But I heard that, and I know Tyler, this is Tyler's thing, but I thought that was so funny. Quickest guy to get naked. That's what he should. That's what he's known for.
So he dresses down and then he puts back on all the sweaty, nasty pads that he had on.
I'm assuming he gets.
That's towards the end of the game, I think.
Or does he have different sets of pads for each period?
I don't know, but I'm assuming he's a professional hockey player. I'm sure they give him I'm sure they all get new pads.
Yeah.
Do you see Darnell Nurse's glove has a major hole in it?
I'm not surprised.
For somebody who makes millions of dollars and playing for the National Hockey League, you can't get new gloves.
We live, but he may not want it. We're hockey, I would say, is maybe next to baseball, we're just creatures of habit, which leads me to another Patrick Marlowe story to go off of Alex. The guy The guy went, so I think he wore like some kind of CCM skates that were discontinued. And when he knew that they were going to be discontinued, he bought up the entire stock because he did not want to ever change skates, ever. And
That's cool.
Just this year, or it might have been last year, he ran out and he actually had to go into a new age skate. But it just goes to show, like, these guys are creatures of habit. That's just how it kind of goes. So James, I mean, he probably just likes it. I don't know. Look, before I put a nail in this, I think that he'll be considered for the Hall of Fame. I think that he's kind of in the Hall of very good players. Like he is not a Hall of Famer. Like he will go down as a probably the best player over a regular season, like continuously, but he just doesn't have enough stats, I think, to warrant a Hall of Fame bid, unless you just want to give him the because he had that many games. Although I will say that this achievement couldn't have been, achieved by a better person. I mean, he is widely regarded as a league favorite, a fan favorite. And he's one of those players that even if you're a Kings fan, even if you're a Ducks fan, and if you don't like this guy, you probably should check yourself, because you're kind of an asshole, because he's a good guy, genuinely. He's not like an Evander Kane or a
Kachuk,
Corey Perry or a Kachuk, right? He's a genuinely good guy and a great teammate. And I give my full congratulations to Patrick Marlowe. What an achievement. And I'm glad you got to play in Vegas where there was actually fans to appreciate that. That was really great. And so moving on, before I get emotional, that's a big one that leaves a lump in my throat. That's a big achievement for a hockey fan to see. So moving on, the Dallas Stars, Alexander Radulov and Bishop, their goalie, Ben Bishop, are done for the season. Adding to the woes of the Stars, these guys have been beat up. These guys had to deal with COVID early on. These guys had to deal with the winter storm in Texas. I asked James to, are the Stars done? I mean, should we pull a nail in them? I've been sitting here on my on the podcast and on my weekly power rankings saying, watch out for the Dallas Stars. I know they're a few spots back, but they got a lot of games in hand. Losing these two players, are they done? Do I need to give up my belief?
No, dude. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And that's going to be the case of the Dallas Stars here. Ben Bishop, the players you named, Bishop and Radulov. Bishop hasn't played at all anyway. He hasn't stepped on the ice one time this season. He played a little bit in the playoffs last year. I think it was like 2 games. But he's been MIA. He's been hurt. Radulov, on the other hand, has only appeared in 9 or 11 games. And in those 11 games, he's put up 12 points, 4 goals and 8 assists. His last game was 3-18. So that was more than a month ago. In that time period, Dallas has gone 8-9, and 5 of those losses came in extra time. So they're competitive. Overall, like, even though Radulov only played in 11 games, they didn't win all those, but they also didn't lose all those, Yeah. The thing, like, the 2 players you mentioned weren't that big of factors to begin with. Currently, Dallas is on a 2-game win streak. Tyler Seguin is slated to come back in the next couple days, probably even sooner. I'm tempted to say that Tyler Seguin in a couple of games has a bigger impact than Radulov does. I don't know. We haven't seen Tyler Seguin play post-surgery, but his presence and his natural talent and his IQ on the ice and all the above that makes him that good, and for as long as he is going to show up eventually and is going to have more of a presence than Radulov did. Right now, they're about 3 points back from the 4th seed. Might be 5 now because I think Nashville won tonight. But like the matter, they what?
So did Dallas, so they're still 3.
Okay, yeah, so they're still 3 points back, and they played 2 to 3 games less than everybody else in that division. They can still make that up. So, truth be told, at the end of the day, in conclusion, they still have a chance. Radulov's been out forever. Bishop hasn't played. They're pretty much going to be the same team with the addition of Tyler Seguin. That's a lot of help right there.
Would you put money on that they would be the 4th spot?
Yeah, I'm a betting man. Let's do it.
I love it. Look, and this actually leads into the third point that I asked Alex to kind of go into. I'll say this. I think that 3 of the divisions are more or less set. I mean, the North's set. I don't think Calgary or Vancouver have a chance. In the East, Rangers are kind of knocking at the door, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think the East is locked up, and the West is a shit show. Like it's going to be either Arizona or St. Louis, and they're both going to be clapped in the first round, so it's not even something to worry about. The Discover Central is a battle for that last spot between three teams. I mean, we have Nashville in it, we have Dallas in it, and we have Chicago in it. Columbus has fallen below Detroit, in terms of a tiebreaker, which is insane to think about. So they're done. Detroit and Columbus are too far. So those three teams are vying for it. And what I didn't realize, James, is that Dallas has a 4-game series against the Red Wings this week. And one of them was a win today. So that's a big thing. So I like to think that they're still going to be the team that makes it in. They're the only team that has a positive goal differential, of those three teams. So I think that they do have a good shot. They just are fighting through those injuries. So I would agree with you. However, moving on to my third point, Alex, Nashville and Chicago play a 3-game series this week, which could be the defining week of the Central 4 spot. And now we know that, the Stars are playing 4 games against the Red Wings. So this is probably the most important week for the Discover Central. Who do you have winning the series? And do you think that winner will be the 4th playoff team? Or said differently, who is going to be that 4th spot?
Yeah. So before we had started talking about this, I was going to say Dallas. We talked about this before. The plus minus goal differential thing is huge. Teams that go into the playoffs as a have a negative goal differential are terrible. So to answer your questions, I think Nashville is going to win the series. So even if they take 2 out of 3, and then I still think Dallas has right now 3 games in hand over Nashville.
Yep.
And they're 3 points back. They could easily be in that 4th spot when we talk a week from now. It would not surprise me. I don't think Chicago, I think they were a fun story at the beginning of the season. We were like, oh crap, do we need to take them seriously? And they've kind of come back to earth a little bit. I think that especially if Nashville can win all 3 games, Chicago's done. It's over.
Yeah.
That's too much to come back from. If Nashville takes 2 out of 3, I think it's going to be a fight. I think we were all pretty down on Nashville at the beginning of, when we were doing our previews. They've been a surprise team. Dallas has just had an unbelievably brutal season. And pretty much piggybacking off of what James said, they don't need those guys. They haven't had them all year. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Nashville ends up in the fourth spot because I don't want to agree with James. Yeah. What do you want? 20,
Let's do another 50. Let's do another 50 so that I finally get my 100 back.
Deal. $50. Nashville ends the season as the fourth seed.
And I said Dallas.
Okay.
So you heard it here. We have James that has Dallas and Alex that have Nashville. They have, by a margin of error, they have the exact same point percentage, and which is what I've been talking about this whole time. So this bet is pretty close. It's pretty even. I think that Dallas, I think I have to hold on to my belief. I've had this belief since the beginning of the season that Dallas is going to be the team to make it. I would look kind of bad if I gave up on them now, especially, looking at their schedule this week and the fact that Nashville and Chicago play each other, 3 times. Like those 3 teams are playing the most important games of their season right now. And I will agree with you, Alex, that if Nashville wins the next 2, then Chicago's done. We're leaving Chicago out, and it's a Dallas, Nashville, playoff or fight. That said, Dallas does have 3 games up here against Detroit, but we can talk about them having games at hand. But the important thing is you have to win those games. You need to actually get points out of those games. And yes, they took care of business tonight, but you have to continue, and it was only by 1 goal. It was a fight. And Detroit guys, I don't know if you guys have been watching, they're fighting hard. They are a team that does not want to be at that bottom of the division. They don't want to be at the bottom of the leaderboard anymore. They're playing good hockey. They're buying in, and they're going to try and spoil some competition here. And it might start with the Stars. It ended up in a shootout today. So, it could have gone either way. So I think we're going to be watching this very, very closely. I have the Stars, so I'm gonna jump on the Star. I mean, I've been on the Stars bandwagon this whole time. I just think that they have on paper the better team, but they are banged up. So I would not be surprised to see Nashville get in there. I got to give my props to Nashville. I wasn't even talking about them about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and all of a sudden they came out of nowhere. So props to them. So yeah, I have Dallas as well, but I think that the bet is going to be close, and I can't wait to see who wins that money between you guys, and we'll let everyone know the outcome of that. Before I sign off this segment, I do want to say I want to congratulate the Vancouver Canucks for beating the Toronto Maple Leafs last night. They hadn't played for almost a month because of COVID. They had only they only got to practice 3 times with some pushback by them against the league for trying to get them to hurry up and get playing last week. They were out of shape. A lot of them had a variant of the COVID that really, hurt, it affected them big time, and physically. And when you don't play that, when you don't get to be on the ice for over 2 weeks, you lose it. You guys are in the, sports medicine. You guys know that if you aren't playing, if you aren't working out, you lose it quickly, especially in a type of sport that hockey is. So I couldn't believe it when I turned on the game last night and the Canucks were down by 1 and then they came back and won in overtime. Yes, they were dominated, but their goalie kept them in it. And they found the heart and soul and they won that game. And I give them all the props because, it's a good outcome for what they just went through. Also, I love to hear when Toronto gets embarrassed in some shape or form. So that is it. That is my hockey segment for the week.
Thank you, Tradon. Once again, great job. Always look forward to the hockey talks with you.